Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for video 2. And today we're going to talk about the journey for your re-nourished body. And before we begin that particular journey, I just want to kind of go back and do sort of a recap of the last video that I had posted here for this Lunch and Learn series. And what that was about was the journey for your rebalanced life, and we looked at the wheel of life. In particular, what areas do you need to be paying more attention to, and what areas may you be putting too much time and energy on. And so looking at the holistic picture of what your life looks like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, where you spend that time and energy. So I want to thank you once again for the second video in our 5-video series. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go right into the journey for your re-nourished body. This is a very important topic. This is an area where many of us that are in the caregiving field, many of us who are we work 9 to 5, or we're stay-at-home moms, or we're teachers, or whatever it is, especially women in general, we tend to have real difficulty in being able to take care of what we need and really listen to that self-care. And I think over the last couple of years we've seen such an increase in more of the approaches to self-care. And so if you turn to page 10 in your You Transformed Journey Guide booklet, you'll see that the journey for your re-nourished body starts right on page 10. So something I want to share a little bit of my own personal journey, how this particular journey for your re-nourished body came about, and how my journey for my re-nourished body has actually really developed and grew over the years. And, it kind of reminds me of, we always see that sort of, the imagery of somebody kind of like knocking on your head and saying, we're trying to get your attention on something. This goes back to, I can't remember specifically the year, but I remember doing a class for a holistic health and wellness fair, or a lecture, and it was called The Introduction to Holistic Thinking. And how I really kind of developed into the journey for your rebalanced body or re-nourished body is the concept of, we get up in the morning, we are constantly going, right? Like maybe we have to swig down a cup of coffee, maybe we're running out the door, maybe we have kids we got to get on the school bus, or a meeting we've got to go to and we're stuck in traffic. We're constantly going. There is like hardly any stop. And so, and this was back, I really want to say maybe 2004, 2005, I had come up with this analogy. And so we're constantly going, right? And we recognize, like, maybe say we get to work and now we're sitting at our desk and we've got a pile of papers that we need to get through, and we're sitting there and we're wondering, how am I going to get through it? And some more stress, some more pressure, some more stuff. And we find that we have a headache. And part of the reason why we start to feel like we have a headache is because now we've reached a point where it's like we've stopped going, and now we're sitting and we're realizing we have a headache. And so most people in society would say, okay, yep, there's that headache, and I'm going to take something for it, because that taking something for it is going to alleviate it. It's going to stop the headache, or it's no longer going to be there. And trust me, I am not someone who would not take something for a headache, but what I've learned through the years is I know why I have that headache, okay? And maybe at that point in time, I can't go back and undo the headache, and I can take that, Tylenol or that aspirin or whatever it is, my allergy medicine, but I can recall and remember why I have that headache so that I can stop it from happening the next time. And so why I talk about the re-nourished body is nourishment has to do with our needs, and our needs always seem to go further down on the list. so that we can tend to our children, so we can tend to our spouses, so we can tend to our loved ones, so we can tend to those at our job. The list goes on and on and on. And so that concept, that introduction to holistic thinking, what that did for me is it made me realize that the mind, the body, and the spirit are connected. And that's part of what this entire journey is of the Journey Guidebook, is if I know I've got a headache, and I also look at all the things that I just did that day, like 7 or 8 or 10 things in just an hour's time, boy, that would tell me that's one of the reasons why I have a headache, is because of that pressure, that stress, that tension, that go, 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 go. We are not human doings, we are human beings. And the more we push through things, the more we will have headaches. The more we will have headaches not only in our mind, in our lives as well, and upsets. This is not something that I'm telling you to scare you into some kind of submission. It's the reality that we live in. And so if you are watching this video and you are ready to join me in the journey for the re-nourished body, then I urge you to look at what areas in your life need your attention. Where is your body asking for attention? So through the years, I have learned to listen to my body more. I have learned to tune in to what it needs. I have learned that, well, if I've got a headache, maybe I'm not drinking enough water. It's certain basic needs. If I'm not sleeping at night, maybe it's because I'm on the computer until 10, 11 o'clock with the screen blaring at me. I don't do that anymore because I've learned. So that's one of the things that I love also about this journey that we're taking. And this journey that, in truth, if you decide to go deeper and deeper with me, and you decide that you want to do some group coaching or some even one-on-one coaching, we can really develop a strong, strong foundation for you based on your rhythms, your patterns, your seasons, your cycles. I truly believe that. So this, the journey for your re-nourished body, is what we're going to get into right now. First and foremost, one of the things that I want to bring up with the journey for your re-nourished body and in regards to the book is operating with clear boundaries. Now, the more we understand what trips us up, who trips us up, or what is draining our energy, the more nourished our bodies can be. Because then we can learn how to say no to the things that we are always saying yes to. And that's always an area. We're constantly being people pleasers and caregivers, and we just keep putting our needs on the back burner. So I don't want to keep going over that because I think I've made my point really clear with, if we're saying yes to a lot of things that we want to say no to, we're going to get more headaches. So what is it that creates clear boundaries? Okay? If you look at the book, and I'm going to read a little bit from it if you want to follow along. Operating with clear boundaries is a great way for you to see who or what in your life may be taking you away from what you need, and even more so from what's important. I really stress that when we look at time management, what we're doing with our energy, what we're doing with our time, I swear it's so much like money. Like, we wouldn't throw money out the window, so why would we throw our time out the window? Why wouldn't we want to know what we're doing with our time? And so the more that we understand what we're doing with our time, the more we can see where our energy sucks are, and the more we can start to incorporate things that really bring us joy, things that our body needs. So we all know how hard it is to say no to someone or something, and lots of times we just don't, so we can keep the peace. But if you're finding that you're getting sick, or if you're constantly run down, then you have to start managing your time and energy better. And that means saying no. It could be because you're too busy doing so much for others and not doing what you need to do for you. So on the next page, what I had done, and this is really important, this is a beautiful exercise that you can do either in the book or, as I've said before, when you purchase the book, you can use another journal or you can type on your computer. Whatever is going to get you to discover more about you, more about what makes you tick, more about what makes you happy, more about what sets you off. So I ask you to write down various ways that you show up. Now, I want to describe this a little bit more and how this is totally related to operating with clear boundaries. Many of the reasons why we have difficulty saying no is because there are people that depend on us, that we have created. It's almost like, if I were to kind of, like in our brain, it's almost like we've created track marks. We've created, railroad train tracks in our brain that has wired us to say, we have to say yes to this person because if we don't, this person will get mad. We have to say yes to this person because if we don't, then this will happen. And so what begins to happen is they depend on us and we actually depend on them. It's almost like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Every time you do that, you just keep hardwiring that in your brain. And so when I say operating with clear boundaries and write down the various ways that you show up, that's what I'm saying. When you look at your family and you take each one of your family members and you look at how you show up for them, this is an opportunity for you to see how healthy that relationship is. What does a healthy relationship look like? Well, for the most part, you don't feel obligated to doing something. For the most part, you feel that you are going to help somebody, but you're not going to enable them to do something that they could be doing for themselves. So when I ask you to write down the various ways that you show up for your family, for your friends, for your coworkers, for others, I'm asking you to look at what is the relationship that you have. Out of these various relationships, I guarantee you're going to see certain patterns. So what's jumping out for me is coworkers. Many of us feel as though we go to work, right, and we'll do the job that we're meant to do, but then sometimes we actually end up spending more time doing other people's work as well. How do you relate to your coworkers? Are you honest with them? Are you truthful with them? Do you feel as though you have a honest, truthful relationship? So you look at the various ways. When I say you show up, it means how are you being you? And are you respected and valued for that? I want to go in a little bit further and I want to say, after you've done that, you determine if this relationship with your coworkers, certain family members, certain friends, others in your life, is this coming from you feeling in an empowered position? Do you feel empowered when you're around these people? Or do you feel like obligated? Do you feel small? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel shamed? And are you empowering your family members? Are you empowering your friends? It's so easy for us to want to do the work at work, in our families, with our friends, but it's not up to us to do the work for them. It's up to us to do the work for us. The idea of this particular exercise is to get people to depend more on themselves and their capabilities versus you. That's one of the reasons why I love coaching so much, and guiding in particular. It's taken me a little while through the years, but I have really developed a way where I can tell and see, am I enabling this person? Am I helping this person? Because if I'm helping someone, I'm also seeing them as someone who is helpless. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. It doesn't mean that it doesn't make things difficult, because it does. Because it's so much easier to help somebody that needs help than it is to try and empower them. I keep saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. All you can do is show them that the water is right in front of them and hope that they're thirsty enough to take the action steps to drink from it. That's one of the things that I love so much about coaching, because it's my job, my mission is not to do the work for you, but to show you so many different ways where you're doing the work yourself. And do you know how wonderful that feels when you're doing that with a family member, when you're doing that with a coworker, when you're doing that with friends? How wonderful does that feel? So this exercise challenges you to look at your boundaries, because the thing is if you are able to speak about your needs more, if you are able to work on your needs versus somebody else, then you will find so much more nourishment in doing so. And in time and in turn, you will be giving others opportunities to nourish their bodies and minds and spirits as well. So that concludes the journey for your re-nourished body. And I'm going to ask you, if you will, to just write down below, because I'd like to help you out through this. I want you to write down below, what area do you have the most difficulty saying no to? And I want you, when you write that down, I want you to go back and look at what situation you have been in. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel empowered? Does that make you feel small? How does it make you feel? So that's what I want you to do. Until next time, I'm sending you love and light and joy on your self-discovery journey. And our next video will be on the journey for your refocused mind. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.